How we doing? I'm all jacked up here. Let me get a little more presentable. So, I didn't talk about it as much this morning. I know you can hear, maybe can hear the rain and stuff in the background. It's coming a pretty good rain shower. It's so dry here, we need it. But anyway, I want to talk about the past again in a different light, and from what I normally talk about. But I want to talk about a friend of mine we were pretty much like brothers. Actually, we were more than brothers. We're probably closer than any brothers would be for years, and that's Billy Ray Sneed. You know, I remember the first time I met Billy Ray. Dale Reichard was building a house behind his mother's house, and Dale was jamming with Billy Ray, and I'm not sure Dean Underwood was there that day or not, but it was Billy Ray, and I don't remember who was playing bass. It may have been Dean, I can't remember, but they were jamming out there in what would be the living room of Dale's house that they were building. And that was the first time I ever met Billy Ray or saw Billy Ray at all. And I remember he was playing that blonde Electra Les Paul with the maple neck with black inlays. And I was amazed with his playing. I was wanting to learn how to play guitar, and I had played, you know, I was just playing around the house and stuff, man. And I remember meeting him, and you know, and I was like, I never would have thought at that time. I had no idea that I would ever play in a band with him at all. You know, that didn't cross my mind. And I remember the little, you know, ran across him another time or two, you know, after that. And then I kind of hung around because he was in a band with, he ended up in a band with Johnny Holland. And it was Glenn and Grant Miles and Billy Ray and Johnny Holland, and Dale was playing drums for him. And I saw them play some, and I remember, you know, they were kind of, I don't want to get into the bad end of things, but Billy Ray kind of got let go from the band, you know. Glenn and them decided they didn't need Billy Ray in the band at that time. You know, it's kind of, I don't know if you've ever been in a band or anything, but sometimes it can be a little cutthroat. And anyway, Billy Ray got bumped out of the band. And you know, me and him had talked some, this and that. Anyway, so after, I don't know, I can't remember exactly how long after that, I started kind of taking, you know, playing guitar more serious. And we were talking, and so me and Johnny Holland and Billy Ray and Dale, and I want to say the first bass player we had was Jeff Wright. And we got to jamming, playing, and Billy Ray got to teaching me chords, some chords and stuff for the songs. We'd learn a new song. He'd just show me the chords of how to play that song, you know, and I'd memorize them, you know, and so I was kind of heavy. I was pretty much overweight then and everything, so I was kind of heavy and all, and we kept jamming, and I ended up losing a bunch of weight, and this was probably like 87, 88, like 88 probably. I ended up losing almost 100 pounds. I lost a bunch of weight. I was wanting to be a rock star so bad, man. I was willing to do anything, and Anyway, so we were jamming together, and you know, we started like we would rent out a community center. Johnny had moved on from being our singer. He ended up being our sound guy for a while. He hung in there for a while. I ended up buying his equipment from him. I was buying, you know, he had like an amp and some cabinets and stuff, and I ended up buying them. And so I started singing, and Billy Ray would sing, but I started doing the biggest portion of the singing, and you know, I'd never done that before. So I started singing, and you know, we practiced every weekend. You know, there at Daddy's house, down there in the den, it was a 2-car garage that had been taken in. Daddy had took it in and made it a den. So it was a big room, plenty of room. And I'm gonna tell you something about my daddy. I have to give him kudos on this. He hardly ever complained about us playing down there. Even though we would play till 12 or 1 o'clock at night, he would hardly ever say anything. You know, he very rarely complained or anything, you know, us practicing down there. I mean, he just didn't. You know, we would, and so, you know, I went through several bands in that den, but, you know, and he never complained. But anyway, we rented out Rock Zone. Ended up, you know, we rented out a, you know, community center or two and this and that. We had our first gig before I lost weight. I remember our very first gig, and it was me and Billy Ray, Johnny Holland, Jeff Wright on bass, and Dale was playing drums. And we got a gig playing a girl's birthday party at Needle Lake over the other side of Fulton. We spent about 4 hours setting up, and we were jamming, and a fight broke out. It took us about 10 minutes to load up and get going. So that was our first gig, and we never got paid for it. But anyway, that was our first gig. And after that, like I said, you know, we would do it. We'd rent a community center and jam, try to sell tickets and this and that. And we'd done that for a good while. Well, me and Billy Ray, a lot of times on Fridays, me and him would get off early. We worked in furniture. We'd get off early on Fridays. We'd get off before lunch. So me and him would meet somewhere a lot of times on Fridays and eat a buffet somewhere. So we'd done it at the Western Sizzlin that used to be at Tupelo. And I remember us going I'd drive down to Amory to Papa's Pizza down there. And we would eat his buffet down there. And I remember at one time, Billy Ray was sitting across from me in the restaurant, and he just got some fresh pizza off the buffet. And he pulled that, matter of fact, we talked about this the last time he was in the hospital. He strung that cheese off that piece of pizza, and it popped down across his chin, and he went, ah, real loud. I mean, the restaurant was full, man. I had folks everywhere. And it burnt his chin and put a red mark down his chin. It burned him. It was like 2nd-degree burns down his chin. So anyway, Papa there was talking to us about coming and playing. He was thinking about opening the old Amory Opry building across the road. So one day, me and Billy Ray, we go over there kicking around. He gives us the key and lets us go in there to look at it, see what we think. He was going to make like a teen club out of it. So we go over there looking around, and come to find out, it was a music store for a while. The front part was a music store. So there was a guy's card hanging up there. I can't remember if it was still hanging up on the wall or Billy Ray picked it up off the floor, or one of us did. Anyway, we found Mike Long's number, bass player, looking for band. So we called him. And because Jeff Wright got hurt, moved on. Anyway, we called Mike Long. He comes to Daddy's. I remember the first time Mike showed up. He come in there and had a little cooler and his cup, and he was in his Gretsch guitar. bass guitar. He was ready to go. And I think Dale had his bass amp there, so Mike just had to bring his guitar and plug in. And so it was it was kind of history after that. We jammed together for probably 8 or 9 years, and all that time, me and Billy Ray was really close. I'd go over to we'd go to his house and jam, and I'd hang out there. Even after me and Lori got married, when I joined Rock Zone back, we played several gigs after that, mid-90s and early to mid-90s, and we would spend every weekend at Billy Ray's house or at Mike's house, and sometimes our house, but my room wasn't very big, so we hardly ever done it there that much. But from like 92, after me and Lori got married in 91, I quit for a year, and Billy Ray and them got another guy to come in, play keyboard and sing. And so they went for about a year without me, and then in 92 I joined the band back. But there's so much about Billy Ray that I could tell you, man. So much stuff me and him done. We would go concerts we went to. A lot of times we wouldn't ride together though. He would meet me there. And I remember the Motley Crue. I remember Ozzy. I'm trying to think. There were several concerts, and a lot of times he would just meet us there. And there was one thing about Billy Ray. One thing is he wasn't gonna lie to you, and another thing is he ain't gonna talk bad about you behind your back. He might have an opinion about this and that. Man, we used to pick on him all the time about me and him would argue all the time about his guitar equipment. He would lose guitar signal. He'd go over and kick his pedal or kick his Rex 50 effects thing. He'd go over and kick it and start working again. We'd pick on him about that. Buy a new cord, buy this, buy that. I sold him the black Vandenberg guitar I got. I got the first Vandenberg guitar that Tupelo Concert got that received. I bought it, and Billy Ray bought it from me. And matter of fact, he still got it. He still had it. He had broke the little tip off the headstock. The banana had a banana headstock. He broke the little tip off, but he still had that guitar. And there's just so many things that I could say about him that it would take a lot longer than a 15-minute episode. But I wanted to tell that part about when I first met him, and some of the stuff that me and him went through. His first marriage, they had issues, and went through that with him. And he got a divorce, and he was single for a while, and then he got married again, and but I was there. We were there. We were pretty close. He was probably my best friend for years there when we were close, and because we saw each other every week, and now you look back and you go, man, I wish we could have stayed closer over the last, we hadn't jammed together since except for like a couple of just reunion get-togethers that we had. We hadn't jammed together. And now he did come and jam with So Be It, the Christian rock band that we was in. He came and played with us a show or two, and he took Cody's place for just a short amount of time, but we realized that it just wasn't going to be the same. It wasn't going to be the same, and so we ended up just diving out of So Be It completely and just kind of disbanded. But he did jam with us then, so that's the last that he did with us, so that was 2010. So it's been, 15 years, and we thought about doing a reunion back a couple of years ago, but it never did pan out. And, you kind of wish, or just to get together, and I kind of wish we had now, but he had some health issues that kind of helped prevent that, and we never was able to get it together. But, I tell you, it goes to show you that somebody that you miss or somebody that you think a lot of, you better consider them while they're alive, because you or them may not always be here. And we need to remember that.